any wargame, anytime.
All right, everyone. Thank you guys for joining us for another episode of Any War Game Anytime. I'm Daniel. We've got a super awesome guest here that we are so excited to have on. We've been looking forward to him coming on, but before that, Sam, how you doing, man?
Oh, living the life, right? Another day, another dollar.
I feel you on that. Bozz, how you doing, man?
Yeah, doing really well. We've been offered a couple of winter fairs this weekend, which has been good. Good chance for the kiddo to run around and get more excited about winter and Christmas and things. So yeah, it's been good.
That's awesome. And we have our guest. It is the man, the myth, the legend himself. It is Warboss Fitz. I guess we'll call you Mr. Fitz. How you doing, man?
Doing good. How you guys doing today?
Oh, we're great. We're great. I mean, it's so good to have you on. I mean, I think I guess we'll introduce you, although you probably need a very little introduction. Warboss Fitz is a YouTuber, and I mean, he does amazing work, especially at OPR. I mean, I know, like, just watching your work, like I catch every one of the videos, and I enjoy them. I love them. So again, just thank you so much for coming on this podcast.
Oh yeah, no problem. When you sent me the message, hey, would you like to be on a podcast? I'm like, oh, sure, absolutely.
Well, thank you. So, for those who probably don't know, well, so just go ahead and Mr. Fitz, Mr. Warboss, we'll call you Mr. Warboss. Tell us a little bit about yourself. We'll, just so you know, we're going to post all the links to your channel, but just, go ahead and just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Like myself. Well, I'm just a guy who sits around his garage and plays with toy soldiers. Yeah, and then I post it on YouTube for everyone else to see my ridiculousness.
Okay, so how about a little history in wargaming? What, how long have you? Just tell us a little bit about what got you into wargaming, and just a little bit of that.
Well, I can lay this firmly at the feet of my friend Steve. All the way back in high school, I went to like an art magnet high school where they had us doing all kinds of visual arts and painting and sculpting and all that. Well, one day we were in an auditorium and I looked over and he had doodled the helmet of a space marine. And I went, oh man, that's cool. And 25 years, that was 25 years ago.
Okay.
So I've been in it ever since.
Well, man, so you're one of these, you're kind of us, you're one of these other grizzled war gamers that have sort of been into it.
I think we've yet to talk to somebody who like ourselves did not start wargaming as a teenager. Yeah. I mean, we've all been doing this, man. It's just if it's a part of your life, it's just a part of your life,
Yeah. Yeah. Then after that, that was down in South Florida, and we had one gaming store that we used to go to, and it was named Omniverse Hobbies. It's not around anymore because 25 years for a game store, that'd be incredible down there. But yeah, I got into all kinds of stuff there. 40K fantasy, Battlefleet, Gothic, Epic. We went into historical stuff, 6mm, 3mm, even the old Avalon Hill like chit games. We got all into that. So that's kind of where my wargaming started, was just everything.
That's awesome. That's awesome to just, it sounds like, correct. So it sounds like from the very get-go, you were exposed to a lot of different games at once.
Right. There was it was like me and a couple of friends from high school, including Steve. He drug us along the whole way. We got introduced, and there was a whole lot. I'll call them seasoned war gamers were there. So they had a gambit of everything. I mean, we'd spend whole summers doing the entire Western Front of World War II based in chit games. I think it was called Grand Europa. And I would just sit there and egg on the old guys, like, yeah, come on, assault Leningrad, I dare you.
That is really cool. That's
it'll certainly go better for you than it did for the for the Nazis, right?
Oh yeah, that particular case, it was so bad. He lost the entire Luftwaffe over Leningrad, and I made fun of him for months on that one.
I think that's really cool because I think that you probably share an experience that in wargame that's very unique, is that there's sort of this multi-generational aspect to it, because I was the same way. I was introduced as a teenager, but there were these veteran gamers who sort of brought me in, and later on in my life I sort of brought in teenagers. So you're right, there is sort of that multi-generational aspect to it as well. That's interesting. That's cool.
Right, yeah, because they say if we don't bring in more people, the hobby, one day you're going to have no one to play against. That's no fun.
Mm-hmm. It's really cool. Really cool. So, always an interesting question, because, we started a YouTube channel, and what made you want to start a YouTube channel? Because I know you've been a gamer for a long time. What sort of was that moment that sort of clicked in your mind that says, I want to start a YouTube channel?
Well, I had a couple friends who had YouTube channels. I got one friend that does like anime cosplay stuff, and I got another one that has his own like 40K Battle Report YouTube channel. And every time I went, and I've been on their things a few times, and every time I went, I was just looking at all the equipment they have, and I was like, oh no, this is a lot. I don't know if I could do it. And once OPR discovered me, or I discovered OPR, it felt like it hit different than 40K, but nobody knew about it. So I decided, okay, I'm just going to do it. Just going to make a YouTube channel and see what happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and because your channel, I think I've been sort of following you, I think, since the Genesis, but it's really exploded. How long have you been on your channel?
I think my first video was back in April of this year.
That's what I thought. Okay. Yeah. And it's just grown tremendously.
Yeah. You're up at almost 600 subscribers since April. That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's due to, our extremely top quality content. We had to ask you, because you write, you do narratives, are you just sort of
sound effects, music?
Yeah. Are you sort of a one-man shop? I know you play with your family and friends, but is it just you sort of doing this, or how do
Yeah, right now it is just a one-man show completely.
Wow. That is
and
awesome.
as the channel's gone, you can almost see the evolution of, like, I am a caveman when it comes to technology.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see the evolution of, I'll find something like, oh, I can get sound effects from here. Oh, this would look cool if I could do an overlay here. And like when there was a couple of weeks ago when my voice was just gone because I was sick. And I was like, well, I still kind of want to make videos. So I found out how to do AI voices. And I'm like, all right, cool. That's a thing now. I can do characters.
That is so cool. And I know we have seen the evolution of your channel. Just not that your earlier work wasn't good, but exactly, you just seen this. Your videos just get better. You bring in the AI, you bring in the storylines.
I just watched your most recent one, and the way that you did the Mechanicus voices was just great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So you've sort of already hit on it, and I think that hearing you talk, it sounds like me too. OPR found you. That I had been in sort of a bad place in wargaming, aside from maybe Kings of War, and then I found OPR, and honestly, it's reinvigorated so much of my wargaming. And actually, it's the reason that I as well sort of got into the YouTube channel, because I felt this system is so awesome. More content needs to be produced. Now, I don't produce stuff on, we don't produce stuff on your level, but OPR, just how did you give us a little brief introduction? Sort of how did it find you? How did you find it? Yeah.
Well, I think it was the somewhere in the 8th edition of 40K. I didn't like the way that the game was going. I didn't like, I needed a calculus degree to figure out what goes where and when I could launch things here and attacks and all that. So I was kind of down on 40K at the time. And a friend of mine said, "Have you heard of this game OPR?" And went and looked at the free rules, downloaded the free rules, and then played one game of it. And it took me back to playing 3rd edition 40K, where I first started. And that inspired me. I'm like, okay, they have printed the 3D files. So it inspired me to go get a printer. And then all through the pandemic, I learned how to do 3D printing. And yeah, just it feels like a war. It feels like a war game that's not too full of itself. And that's what I love about it. It's a game where it's like, okay, here's the rules, here's the framework. Now go play.
Yeah, they really do it. The core of their system is just really good. And when I first looked at it before playing it a bunch, I was like, oh, this is too simplistic, right? This is going to be too just basic. This is too watered down. But what I realized as I started playing with it is like, oh, wait a minute. The core mechanics might be relatively simple, but there's a lot of depth to the game. And there really is. I mean, it really does capture that feeling of it's the only thing I've played recently that I get that old wargaming feeling too. Back when I was a teenager and my parents would drop me off on Wednesday nights at Thor's Hammer. It's just long since ceased to exist. But playing those back to Warhammer Fantasy, it really just is a great system.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that, you hit the nail on the head where I had spent about 10 years out of 40K. I love the lore, I love Eldar, but like, I'd stopped at 5th. And you're right. Like it hit something that I think, I can't quite, but you've explained. I don't want to sort of. You basically set it up. So yeah.
It's hard to put it into words. It's a feeling
exactly.
Well, it feels much more. In some ways, it feels more cinematic to me, and the reason I would say is because the modern wargaming has gotten so convoluted, and the strategy behind it's all like, okay, well, I've got all these synergies, I've got all these things, and then when you sit down to play, it doesn't feel the same way. Whereas OPR, it's like it still feels very much like I don't know, in my mind, going through a fantasy battlefield, and the thing's gonna. Maybe I'm rambling.
There is no. I would hit it. This is what I would see. There is no gotchas. There is no.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're playing. You understand the battlefield, and there's very little gotchas. You can, and I love that. Yeah. Well. So tell me. On your channel, Mr. Warboss, Mr. Fitz. You play both.
Warboss was my father.
So you play both fantasy and sci-fi. I see them sort of equal. I feel like you sort of cross the gamut. Do you have a favorite? Is there a particular one that you really prefer one over the other?
It's kind of hard. It's like picking your favorite kid. I'd have to say sci-fi because it was where I started. And, I used to be a big, sci-fi movie fan. I still pull a lot of stuff from that. I used to love, go down to the Blockbuster. God, I'm old. And
we are old.
I was just thinking, I used to do that too. Go on.
Yeah, go there and then go to like the bottom rung of the sci-fi section and pick out the crappiest movie you can find. And and all the stories there would be great, badly executed, but great. So I think sci-fi would be my favorite setting. Now, fantasy, you could do a lot of cool stuff in fantasy, and I'm planning on doing cool stuff in fantasy. But yeah, sci-fi, I'd have to say. That's a rambling answer.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Ramble on. Okay. Okay, so probably another very difficult question. Your favorite army or favorite lore, and this is, by the way, spanning any lore, so it's not just the big ones. If you had to pick a favorite army and their favorite lore, you have to pick.
Oh God, if I had to pick, that is so hard. If I had to pick, it would be pre-8th edition Dark Angel Space Marines. Back when there was still mystery in the game, when questions weren't all answered in a 100-book series that never ends.
I love that. And you actually hit something very true, which is saying it's so true. When we grew up on the 40K universe, you're right. There were so many unanswered questions, and there was a certain beauty in that.
Absolutely.
Right. And now they are sort of answering the questions. It feels weird. Yeah.
I used to really enjoy that you could set your game anywhere within that 10,000 year span of the Imperium. Whereas these days, because they're progressing the story, everything's kind of set in the now, in that's 40,001 or whatever it is.
Right.
And this has happened and the rift has happened and blah, blah, blah. And it's just, they've narrowed the setting by filling in those blanks, I feel.
Yeah.
Right. And it seems like they've moved the story on, but the story hasn't moved because it's like my remember back when special characters used to be you have to ask your opponent's permission and before you did it. Now it's like they special characters, I feel, is it's another big horseshoe around there, another big anchor around the neck where they don't kill anything off. It's like, okay, so you're telling me this guy's been alive for 2,500 years. I mean, something should have got him by now, if not just age. Come on, guys.
Mental degradation, perhaps.
Yeah. Right. Like, especially in the 40K universe, man. It's like life is cheap in the 40K universe.
Right.
Right. Well, even just putting stats on a Primarch feels wrong.
I hate that the Primarchs are in the game.
Putting stats on things like Angron. Yeah, I mean, it.
Yeah, we used to have a saying back in the day that even I think it was in D&D that if you stat it, you can kill it.
Yeah.
Some things should have been left in a nebulous idea.
Yeah, like you wouldn't want to stat Zinch, right?
Right.
It removes stuff from it. It removes stuff.
I love that. Well, okay, so it's really good, and I think I think you're right. Now that you said it, it's funny. I didn't even think you sort of said what I've been thinking and didn't realize, which is you're right. Progressing the story has sort of killed that mystery. And Dark Angels too, that really was their bread and butter about the mystery of Dark Angels. I think you're so right, man. So tell me, you on your YouTube channel, and I'm sure in your personal play, you play all point levels, all sizes. You play 10 millimeter. You pretty much get into the 25 to 28 millimeter. You play skirmish. You sort of play what I consider to be maybe a standard battle, but you also play big battles too. So what is your favorite? Do you have? I'm making you make a lot of tough choices. Pick a lot of favorite kids here. But
you're putting me on the spot here.
I know. So what about that? Again, you have to answer. Favorite sort of point level ish, and sort of even size too. Maybe split those into two if you want to.
Okay, let me be as vaguely specific as possible. I would say my favorite point level is whatever you can fit on the board and it not make movements unimportant. Let's say that.
Yeah.
I've played in apocalypse games where you can't fit a piece of paper between bases, and yeah, it looks cool, but you know what you're going to be doing for the next 15 hours.
Yeah.
I'm going to go that way because it's the only way I can go.
Sorry, that tickled me. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah, we've all seen those pictures. I have my 17 Titans. Oh Jesus. Okay, fine. But yeah, the point level's that. But honestly, my favorite scale. This is going to be really weird, for what I do. But my favorite scale is 3mm.
Wow, I didn't even know they went that low. Wow.
Yeah, I've gamed lots in 6mm, and that's tiny.
Yeah, 3mm. There's only a few manufacturers of it, mostly historical stuff, but there's been a few sci-fi things coming in. But like, at that point, it becomes like you're fighting in whole sectors at a time, sort of thing. And like I said, I did it a lot in historicals. We back in the day converted it over to epic and sci-fi, and I really loved it. But that's the thing. I might bring some of that to the channel if I can figure out a way to transfer 3mm to YouTube.
Oh, I love it. Oh my God.
It doesn't really translate well yet, but I'm working on it.
Yeah. Well, that's my favorite.
Ultra zoom in camera.
Yeah. I mean, that's my favorite of your channel things. I love your 6mm fantasies and your 40K where you did the one where you did the orcs. You did the space. I think it's the scenario where you did the campaign where you did the 6mm 40K. Y'all can go watch it. And it's funny, like, because I actually just went by some guys who are doing some epic, and that's the next game I want to get into is epic. So it sounds like you really are more like me and Sam. You're a mass battle guy. You love that.
Yeah, I like I like it to where the battle can mean something on a larger scale. Like telling the story. I like telling the story of the game. Where like on a standard 28mm battlefield on a 6x4 table, like you're not telling the story of the battle, you're telling a story of like these 3 buildings. I want to see the whole front, and I want to see the movement and the giant flanking maneuvers and the desperate, companies holding out over here against the whole regiments, sort of thing.
Yeah, that's super cool. Super cool. Wow.
Yeah,
man.
same. Because I was always like, when I first started wargaming, I was deeply inspired by things like Romance of the Three Kingdoms, and military history, and the idea of that you'd have battlefields where there was like 1 million people on each side, and you'd have generals up with flags, kind of directing things, and and then over the course of this like the hours that the battle was going to last, you'd get this whole like maneuvers would finally play out. I mean, I there's nothing. Yeah. That's always what I've wanted to be able to emulate with my wargaming.
Yeah, even the old like the John Blanche artwork, you see the Imperial Guard standing against the orcs, and it's a giant battle line with tanks up in the hill behind it with giant fortifications.
Yeah,
you can't pull that off on a 6x4 table.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, I think the word is theaters.
I'm working on it.
Yeah, you like. I love playing a battle in theaters where you have and I always say it's a different game when you play at larger points, because it's a lot more about committing. What resources do I need to commit here, right? What because it's so true. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh man.
That's probably a leftover from when I used to do those Avalon Hill games where we'd have one guy that would be like the front commander, and I have to beg him, no, I need tank divisions over on my side. Don't send them to the south. What are you doing? Sort of thing.
That's awesome. Okay, well, we are all about asking you difficult questions, and here's another difficult one. Your favorite model line, and you can pick GW. I mean, we're not, GW makes great work, but if you could pick a favorite model line, what would you pick?
That's,
and it's open-ended. You can just
see, because I've pretty much gone exclusively to 3D printing. That's hard to do because everybody's got a good something. Like right now, I'm on a Bestiaire miniatures kick. So I mean, he's got a lot of like realistic, but just not right kind of models that he's putting out.
Yeah, he puts out some amazing stuff.
Right, and I'm doing for like my Amazons that are going to be in the fantasy campaign. I'm using some Lord of the Print, some random dinosaurs you can get from everywhere. But if I was to break it all the way down, Games Workshop, they were good for a long while, so they were kind of the standard that everybody got set to. So just for full total model ranges, I'll have to say Games Workshop, but there's a lot of stuff coming that is a whole lot better, in my opinion, than what GW is putting out.
Yeah.
Well, the 3D printing has changed the game.
Well, I think you're right. And I played some Age of Sigmar and I didn't care for the game, but to me, that's like, I have to give GW credit. For me, the Age of Sigmar line, that's where just creativity is exploding. I see that there's just like, I don't know. I love the new line. So I have to agree with you. I mean, like, it's a good answer. I mean, yeah.
I mean, historically, GW's done a whole lot of cool stuff. Like, just their switch over from metal and resin to plastic, where you can get the tall things that are all standing on like a single scroll of paper, stuff that would be impossible anywhere else until they did it, until they figured it out. Yeah, but like I said, with the 3D printing, everybody's got something good. Like my halfling army for Age of Fantasy, I think I said it in the video. I think there's 9 different creators that are in that army in some way.
Yeah. And I loved your the Thanksgiving episode with the turkey. That's so great. I mean, I just so terrific, so terrific.
Yeah, that was inspired by insomnia. I was scrolling through Thingiverse at like 3 in the morning and saw that turkey and went, I have to use that for something.
Wow, man. So here's another hard question. Okay, so it's gonna be a bit. Okay, so let's just say, what is your dream? What's the big, like, suppose that money and time were not an issue. You had all the money and all the time in the world. In other words, that isn't the issue. Free reign. What is your dream thing that you would like to do in wargaming, right? What is like the big thing that, like, take off all the constraints? What is that big dream?
Full scale models of Titan fighting. No, my thing would be probably like to do a full sci-fi. Wouldn't necessarily have to be 40K, but a full sci-fi like invasion of a planetary system. Oh. Like start with space naval battles, moving into planetfall, then to a large scale, small scale, large scale game, strategic, moving around a campaign map, fighting each individual battle. It would take you 20 years to do it, but I'd have a whole lot of fun the whole time.
Oh, wow.
And you do have all the time in the world to do it.
Yeah. So when you win the lottery, let me know. I'll come join you on that one.
Yeah,
I'll put up a pole barn. I'll put up a pole barn, and everyone's coming. You're all commanders.
That sounds like fun.
Man, wow. I mean, that's just so cool. So, well, sort of. Okay, so that's the grandiose plan. But how about just a little more? Let's go back to a little more realistic. A little bit. Give us some plugs. So you're doing? I mean, like I said, your channel. We've watched it from the inception, and it's only gotten bigger. The quality of the battle reports, the everything. It's only gotten better. What are some future plans? You seem like what are some future plans for the channel? Where do you see it sort of going?
Well, I mean,
go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I'd say I'm one of those guys that I don't plan too far ahead because things always inevitably come up. But my vague nebulous plans are. I'm working on more stuff for the fantasy campaign setting I've put together on the channel. Again, where, mystery is better than reality. If I told you the Amazons who are in the jungle are like Aztec militarized Dinotopia, the vision you have in your brain is probably better than what it's going to be. But that's what I'm working on right now. Also, I've moved into a lot of 6mm stuff for sci-fi. Well, for Epic, I've been printing a ton of 6mm stuff for that. So expect more of that on the channel. That's about as far as I have planned now. After that, we'll see where the wind takes us. I mean, I'm just going to keep pumping stuff out.
Well, we love it. I mean,
yeah.
And 6mm. I mean, I'm getting into Epic. That's my plan this next year. 6mm Epic is where I want to finally get into. So I'm going to be eating up every bit of that 6mm stuff. That sounds awesome. Man. Well, we know we don't want to keep you from producing more awesome quality content. But man, Mr. Warboss Fitz, it's been such an honor to have you on the channel, and we look forward to seeing more of your work. If guys go on YouTube, look up Warboss Fitz, find his channel, does great work. So we'll just Sam, any last thoughts or anything you want to sort of ask the Warboss?
I'm thinking of my I'm character creating in my head my general for this planetary invasion, and I'll get back to you with full details of how that's gonna with a detailed backstory at some point.
Oh, absolutely, bring it! I love it.
Oh, cool, Bozz.
So I just want to kind of say to Mr. Master Warboss Fitz and kind of the general public listen to this, go and check his stuff out. The way that you narratively present your videos and the production of them with the background music and the sound effects and the graphical effects and everything, it's amazing that you're doing this out of your garage. Like, I'm really blown away by it, and just keep on pumping it out because it's awesome.
Well, thanks. It's I plan to. I'm going to keep going until it doesn't become fun anymore. But man, it's real fun now. So we're going to keep on going.
All right. Oh, Mr. Warboss Fitz, you get the last word.
Oh, it was great being here. I've been watching your guys' stuff too. This podcast has been popping in on some of your Kings of War and OPR games. Those are pretty cool. And yeah, I hope that you guys continue your success. God, I'm all mush mouthed. Yeah, just
starstruck.
Yeah, starstruck. So sometimes you meet your heroes, right?
Well, I know you'll be pumping it up, but I hope needs to say, I think we would love to have you back on again. I hope that I just hope that you can find time for us to come on again and discuss more of your cool stuff. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. See you guys later.
Any war game, anytime.